Hello, this is part 11 of the MEANJS tutorial. So in our last video we just started creating our access policies file. We finished defining the policies here in this block, and now we're going to create our method that actually checks the access. So first, let's create a variable of the roles. So you should put this at the start of every allow checking function. This means if the user exists in the request, then we'll just use the user's roles array. Otherwise, we will give it the guest user role only. So we could have defined permissions for the guest user, but in this case we don't want the guest user to have any permissions. So we're going to handle the delete case here as a special case. But first, we can just have the method to handle all the other roles to check. So this is just a role method part of the ACL object. If we get an error here, then there's something wrong with the authorization error. There's some sort of error coming from the server that we don't really expect. And here we check if the isAllowed variable comes back true, then that means one of our permissions here that we've defined have passed for the request. Otherwise, we should return an error 403, and we can give it a message in the body. Now for the delete case, we first want to check if a host and user is given in the request. Then we want to check if the host author is equal to the requesting user's ID. And we want to make sure that the method is delete. If all those conditions pass, then we'll return next. So we could have done that to check every single permission type, but we have this ACL method that'll handle all that for us. So now we can go to our server routes file, and we're going to call those methods that we just created. So let's make a new variable host access policy. We're just going to require the policies file that we just created. And we're going to just put all host access policies is allowed. So this just means for all the requests, it'll go through this function first, and if our function passes the next function, then it will move on to the next whatever is in line in the route. Otherwise, if it catches an error, then it will stop there. So we can go ahead and try to run our test again. That should be close with an S, I believe. So it seems there is an error in our test. Let's go back to our server tests. So deleting and logging another user. One problem is no / there, and this is actually wrong. We are testing delete when not logged in at all. So let's just make another copy if logged is another user, and we need to have our agent log in and sign in. We're going to send the second credentials, and we expect 200. And we're going to put our delete inside after we check our sign-in error. Let's make that a capital I. Let's fix the indentation. Let's see if our test will run now. It looks like all of our tests have passed. So one more thing. Let's go back to our client side. We're going to take a look at our controllers, form controller, and even though we're checking on the server side to make sure only the authorized user can delete the post, we want to make sure that button doesn't show up on the client side, just so that there's no unnecessary errors. So we need to use the authentication service. And we're going to set the scope user to be the authentication user. And in our form list view, we're going to make it so the button doesn't show up unless the post.id is equal to the user, not the post ID, but the post author ID, equal to the user ID. And let's start up our server. I'm going to log in with a different account. And see our post. So this is a post I created on the first account, and you see I can't see the delete button. I'm going to create another post. And because we created this post, we can see the delete button. So we could have added another test in our end-to-end test to make sure this works. So you can do that as a self-exercise. You can also do things like making it so when we click on post here, we go to another page with a bigger display of all the full text, and we can also implement the method to edit posts. So there's a lot we can do with that. I think we've covered all the basics. We went through developing everything from end to end. So with that, this will be the end for this section of videos. Good luck with all your MEANJS projects in the future, and I hope you enjoyed these videos.